This episode of the Beauté by ABIC podcast is brought to you by Candela Medical Australia. Hello and welcome to the Beauté by ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we are strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is Beauté by ABIC. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today's guest is Bronwyn Page from Candela Medical. Bronwyn is a qualified registered nurse and has been a laser educator for Candela Medical since 2008. Based in New Zealand, Bronwyn witnessed the arrival and dominance of lasers in the local market. She travels extensively around Asia, New Zealand, and Australia, training and working closely with medical personnel using Candela Lasers. Her training and education ensures therapists are knowledgeable, safe, and achieve the best results for their clients and patients. Here to discuss considerations when adding energy-based devices to your clinic. From Candela Medical, today we welcome Bronwyn Page. Welcome to the podcast, Bronwyn. How are you?
I'm very good here in sunny Auckland today. Thank you for having me.
Very excited to have you on and find out all about you and all about your role with Candela. We've got a lot of material to cover today, and we always start our podcast in the same way. We ask you about you. You originally started your career as a registered nurse. Talk us through that transition from nursing into the aesthetic industry, and also, more specifically, energy-based devices.
My transition was quite by chance, actually. I had a fairly traditional nursing-based career, and we were transferred with my husband's job up to Asia, where I had already been living for 15 years. We moved then to Bangkok, which we would be there for another 5 years. Soon after arriving, I was introduced to a nurse who had recently joined Candela herself as the nurse educator for the Asian region. But her husband, however, had just been posted to a different country. I had been doing various part-time contract, traditional nursing-based jobs in a few of my previous countries, which was Indonesia and China. So I was sort of happy to see what the job involved, because being able to do a little bit of work while I was away was really important to me. Now, believe me, I knew nothing about the beauty and aesthetics industry, and even less about lasers. So I didn't really know what it involved. Light sources back in my day when I was training with Florence involved a lamp that we carried. So it turns out that I got very lucky.
You actually ended up obviously becoming a clinical educator for Candela in New Zealand. In particular, what drew you to that role? Because it is very different to your background.
Very. So, what I was doing for Candela was also different to my background. And I was there as an educational role for mainly in Asia. It was all doctors and very much vascular focused up there, I guess, more. So we did a lot of hospitals and plastic surgery focus. When I came back to New Zealand about 12 years ago, I assumed that my contractor role that I had up in Asia would finish, but I was asked to stay on as and when necessary role and be able to help, but it was mainly in Australia. There were very few lasers of any sort in New Zealand, and certainly no Candela lasers. We were very much an IPL-led country back then. So gradually over those following years, there was more and more lasers that started appearing into New Zealand, and my role started to shift a little bit, and the work was becoming a bit more regular in New Zealand. I progressed from being a contractor, as and when needed, to 3 days a week, which seemed awfully scary to me after having 20 years of not really working that regularly. So 3 days a week was mortifying. How was I going to do it? How was I going to fit life around 3 days of working? And then in 2020, I went from 3 days to full time, and we really have an extensive amount of labour and travel involved in New Zealand. I teach across all the devices we have, and sometimes pop over to Australia when we have extra trainings.
What a rich and diverse career you've had. It sounds very exciting, and it sounds like you get quite restless quite easily, because right now you've taken on a new adventure and decided to change trajectory again and become a business owner. And I heard, Bronwyn, you actually then went ahead and purchased a Candela, a Gentle Max Pro Plus device for your actual clinic.
Yep, I sure did. It was an easy decision, scary, but easy. I saw how successful the clinics that I was helping were doing, and subsequently all the other indications they were offering. And I just kept on looking at these lasers and these clinics and thinking, the hell am I doing here? I wanted a bit of that action. Moving forward, I had to think about a passive income. I'm getting close to retirement age, and I needed to think about what I could have that was going to be still functioning for me moving forward. I'm not working in the clinic that I own at the moment. I've got a fantastic therapist helping me out while I continue with my Candela journey for a little bit longer. So I just believe in this product. I believe in this device. I've seen how it works, my medical background, the science, the quality, most importantly, the results, just all spoke to me. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I know it can do really well.
You are a very dynamic woman. Now that you've told me that you actually have the clinic that you're running, but you're not actually treating in there yourself, and you're actually still the clinical educator for Candela, it's quite exciting. How do you juggle those two very significant roles?
I knew nothing about business. So believe me, last year, oh, wow, I didn't even know sort of much about GST and the fact that you could get GST back on things, just the little stuff I had to learn. I was really fortunate that I didn't have to start a clinic from scratch. I think that would have definitely been a bridge too far for me. I have teamed up with a very, very upmarket, fantastic nurse-led appearance medicine clinic in my town. They were opening a second branch, and she actually opened this beautiful clinic that just looks amazing. And I rent a room off her. I'm inside this clinic. So really all I had to focus on was just getting my laser, getting the room set up, and the therapist. So I've got away very lightly. I'm very aware of that. I'm not a beauty therapist, so therefore I didn't feel I was confident enough to know what other services and what I needed to do in that respect. All I knew how to run a laser, and I knew what was the expectations of the therapist that I trained. And it's just been a match made in heaven at the moment. If I wasn't working in a full-time job, sure, I could have devoted time to setting up a clinic. But for me, that wasn't an option at the moment. I sort of feel like it's all care and no responsibility a wee bit at the moment.
Oh, I love that you did that. It's very smart. I think a lot of people listening to this who are thinking about opening up their own business or having something for themselves could really learn by your example and what you've done there, because you actually still have your role with Candel, and you have this little business that you can nurture and grow and evolve over time as well. So very exciting for you. I have a question. When you set up that clinic, did you actually look outside of Candela for a laser, or did you specifically think, I'm going to go with what I know and I'm going to just purchase one?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I had to consider, because, our lasers are the world leader and often nicknamed the Rolls-Royce lasers. And, along with that comes the price tag. We are not the cheapest. I always sort of liken it to, if I want to go and buy a BMW, I know I'm not going to get a good deal on it. So, we are, it's a massive commitment and outlay. So I had to consider all my options. However, I love this device. I have used it for so long. I am 100% confident about its track record and the consistent results. And despite the cost, it was a no-brainer for me. I wanted to have the best. I mean, I'm a bit like that, whether I'm buying a house or a car or whatever, quite frankly. I wanted the best in the industry, and I don't think I could actually accept anything less. And as the old saying goes, you sort of get what you pay for. The other thing is that our lasers really have got a massive install base anywhere. And in order for me to compete with other clinics, I have to go in competing with the same technology if nothing else. And our technology is pretty much in most of the other clinics around New Zealand and Australia.
Yes.
So I knew that I was going to be a more high-end. So how do I be a high-end clinic when I'm not offering the same technology that the other clinics are offering? I had to go in and compete with the same thing.
Did you actually consider specifically the Gentle Max Pro or any previous iterations of that?
Yeah, I did. The previous model, as you said, is the Gentle Max Pro. It's the standard here in New Zealand and still will be predominantly what you have in Australia. My GMPP is only the second one in New Zealand. We've now got 3 installed. Look, the GMP is still a fabulous laser and almost can do as many things as the upgraded model. And if it was a year ago, I would have happily bought that, absolutely hands down. It's just that I had a choice and the new model had just come out. There was a few more settings and capabilities on this, and so I chose to bite the bullet and go with the latest. Plus, it's a really pretty white colour and I liked it.
Oh, it is a pretty colour, isn't it? It's very fresh looking. Oh, we're going to talk about all those little bits and pieces, all those little gadgets, the extras that you were talking about. I'm actually really excited to talk about those things. But how have you actually found the upgraded Pro Plus? Has it actually benefited your clinic, your business with all those extra features, and also your patients as well?
Look, it's still early days for me, I'll be honest. But bit by bit, as the practice grows, we're getting to see these benefits drifting through. I think probably the clients with the troublesome fine facial vellus hair is the area we're sort of focusing on. Also, not on the vellus hair can also be on other areas such as upper thigh and abdomen, all the resistant fine hair. Because of the GMPP's shorter pulse duration, so that means it's delivering the energy a bit faster, it more closely matches that thermal relaxation time of the fine hairs. And previously, we were a little bit of a plateau as to how we could treat those finer facial hairs. So as we are going further, starting to get people coming in with this, and we are actually be able to just propel their hair removal journey a little bit further forward with the use of these shorter pulse duration. Another area for me is that the GMPP has got a slightly faster hertz repetition, so we can actually treat faster. This actually means that we've got a quicker treatment time, especially on men or large areas. That leads to higher turnover, which of course is evident in your bottom dollar. I was really future-proofing for when I sort of got a bit busier at this stage. With the smaller, we have a slightly larger spot size. So again, on those larger areas, we've got a 26 mil spot. So you combine that with a slightly faster speed, a larger treatment size. Everything's just working towards a bit higher turnover.
As a business owner myself, that's actually exciting to listen to. A lot of our listeners now are going to be thinking, okay, we get it. We get Gentle Max Pro Plus. That's a hair removal device. But actually, I think it can treat other indications. Which are some of the most frequent ones you see in clinic?
Oh, look, it sure can. And this is actually one of the main reasons I platform over some of our other devices, which are a little bit more specialised, and probably from a medical background, I'm quite fascinated in them because they've got some quite amazing specialised technology. But, it's about the versatility and treatment indications. They're very varied. So I'm attracting a larger clientele by having the ability to offer more hair removal. Of course, as you mentioned, we've got hair removal on all skin types because of the dual wavelengths. It's really fabulous for superficial pigmentation, sunspots and so on. Just harking back to that 2 millisecond pulse duration, the slightly shorter pulse, I'm doing some quite good work on really light stubborn pigment that previously was plateaued as well on the longer pulse duration. So there's another area that I'm introducing that into.
Oh, fantastic, because it does get to a point where it does become challenging removing that very light, fine, superficial pigment without then going, to the next level and then risking pigmentation again.
Exactly. So after the hair stuff and the pigment, of course, then we've got vascular, and it's phenomenal for vascular lesions, spider veins on the face and the legs. We can do redness and flushing. Then skin toning, so that fine lines, wrinkles, and just pores. On top of that, I do acne treatments, onychomycosis, which is toenail fungus, which isn't very spunky or sexy, but had some really, really fabulous results. And I can do little cherry angiomas and some resistant old sort of adult port wine stains in my scope of practice. So, that was the number one for me, finding a platform that offered me more than one treatment option.
And tell us the mechanics of it. Let's not delve into too much technical information, but how easy is it to swap between laser hair removal and skin?
Oh, dead easy. So look, the machine does come with a number of different hand pieces, and they are all specific to an area. And the hand piece that we do hair with is a very large spot size. So that really all you can do is hair removal. The pigment, we use a different handpiece, which is just slightly smaller to sort of isolate those smaller lesions we're targeting. So it does involve just removing that handpiece, hanging it on your little hook, taking the other one down, connecting that one, and it's literally 3 minutes in between. So it's really very easy.
In addition to the incredible education provided and the knowledge shared in today's conversation, what sets Candela apart is their commitment. From the day you become a Candela customer, you experience a true partnership. With the purchase of a Candela device, you receive a 3-year service warranty, clinical training for you and your team, as well as access to their comprehensive marketing resources. Your success is their success. Find out more at candelamedical.com.au.
And if I was changing from between the wavelengths even for different vessels, as the ND-YAG wavelength, and hair removal was maybe the 755 wavelength, it's literally the push of a button on the screen and bang, you're in a different way.
Wow, technology has really upgraded, hasn't it? I mean, I remember the days that changing a handpiece was a big deal.
Yeah, PhD in applied mathematics to figure out how to do.
You needed to be an engineer to know how to change a handpiece on a laser. And these days, it's just it's miraculous what they've done. The ease of transition between one particular handpiece modality to another with those devices, with the new devices now, it's just seamless.
It is quite amazing. Look, don't get me wrong, it's still a complicated laser, but fully kitted out like I do. I have got 4 hand pieces, and then some of the hand pieces have different attachments inside them for different sizes we're dealing with. So when you're new to it, it can be a little bit overwhelming with the amount of stuff you have to learn, but it would be amazing if anyone brought out one hand piece that had every spot size from a pinpoint up to a massive spot size for hair removal in one handpiece. Sure,
wow,
but
we're talking futuristic wishes here. Let's put our wish list into Candela.
Yeah, that's a big ask, but it's really very streamlined. And one thing I like to do when I'm with my clinic teaching them, even with the setup stage, make we call them hand pieces and make them accessible. Don't leave them hidden in the big pizza box, we call it, that they come in, because if you have to bend down under the bed, open up a pizza box, lift out the handpiece, put that one down, and your client's on the bed, the girls aren't going to do it. So the easier we can make this handover and the changeover, then your staff are going to utilize the right handpiece for the right condition and get optimal results and not take shortcuts. So I just explained to them a little ways that they could make that more accessible by having it easily available, just to lift off, change them over, and then hang it up again.
Oh, wonderful. Can you give us tips and tricks? Where do you hang your handpieces?
I was really lucky that in our clinic room, and my room is enormous, I figured I could have 6 lasers in there. I'm very lucky. There was a cupboard purpose-built at the end of the room, and it was a long cupboard, a bit like a broom cupboard that we'd have at home. And I went to Bunnings and I bought 2 $6 hose reels that you stick on the outside of your house, covered them with a bit of foam, and then nailed those or screwed those inside the broom cupboard, and my handpieces just drape very nicely and very gently over my reels, hidden away in the cupboard. If you don't have the luxury of a long cupboard, Most people just get a couple of large coat hooks and they hang them on the wall in the treatment room right next to the laser, and there they are, very accessible.
That's fascinating. Goodness me, what a great tip, because to be honest, we call them pizza boxes too.
Yeah.
They look exactly like a pizza box, don't they? Just bigger, an extra super family size pizza.
Yeah, exactly. So it is challenging when you haven't got good facilities within the room. And so if anyone's looking at setting up a room, I have to say the position, the plugs that the laser goes into in the room, the position, drawers and cupboards that can just keep things away, make it streamlined, yet but make it easy access, just makes all the difference. So it's thinking about that setup as well. And, we're really happy to help with things like that. We know what works. We can help from clinic to clinic, hints and tips.
Oh, lovely. I love the fact that Candela it's a device company, but I almost feel with them that they become your business partner in a sense. You purchase a device from them, but it starts starts in the research phase. When you're speaking with them, when you're speaking with the reps and the trainers, the amount of care that they have, the advice you just told me, you help people consider and set up treatment rooms. What is your treatment room setup going to look like? The level of detail, the level of care that I've experienced, and so many people around Australia have experienced with Candela, it's really second to none. Do you think that's one of the reasons why Candela is also the leaders in this space?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm very proud to work for Candela. I love the ethos behind what we do, and I like the fact that our clients sort of become our friends. And for me personally, I have a philosophy that I don't sell the laser myself, but we don't want to sell you a laser that you can't use. We want to back that up with every conceivable support you can have so you can be the best, because if you're not being the best with our laser, you're not giving us a good reputation. So every clinic I go into in New Zealand, and I'm lucky here, it's a smaller country. I travel the whole country, but I am welcomed like I'm part of the furniture. I know what's going on, who got married, who's had a baby. They're my friends, and they're on speed dial with me. I'm on speed dial for them, maybe more the other way around. And they know that whether I've got a clinic or not, we want to make sure that you are treating to the best of your capabilities, and that we give you the tips and the tricks. And the things that I learn from the girls when I'm going around the place is amazing. And I've incorporated some of those tips that work in my own clinic. So I think we're about sharing, about inclusivity. During lockdown, became quite evident to me that we had people on the ground here in New Zealand. We have our own team of servicemen here. We had a clinical trainer in the country, and a lot of companies didn't have that luxury, and any problems they had to be all done. Well, A, machines couldn't be fixed. B, the clinical training all had to be remote. So I love seeing my clinics and knowing that when I leave, I really have helped them, and just they know they're doing the best they can do, and I'm a phone call away when they need more.
Oh my goodness, I love hearing that, because obviously ABIC is all about connection, sharing information, really helping to elevate each other in the industry. And what a beautiful philosophy that you have. And I know that it's part of the Candela philosophy. And that's why you've been working there for such a long time, because it is the culture that's ingrained in there. And we all feel it. We feel it when we deal with and when we interact with Candela staff, Candela reps, and we feel it from the company as well. And there's such, amazing supporters of our industry. Obviously, Candela are foundation members of ABIC, and they were one of the first companies to jump on to ABIC and really lend their support, lend their weight, and really help steward the industry, which is what we need from companies, a social responsibility. They're not just a product company. It's a company that has a particular culture of generosity and support and connection. And we really value that. And that's why we love working with you. We love, projects that we do with Candela. It's so exciting. When you were talking, Bronwyn, all I'm thinking of in the back of my head is I want to pick your brain about the upgrades and the features. Tell us a little bit about the new stuff, the new gadgets we can play with.
Well, I think, I alluded to it with regard to the new upgrades being that speed, being a bit better for the busy clinics. It's not something that's affected me too much yet, but I'm hoping to get there. The larger spot size we talked about, that smaller pulse duration we talked about. So all those little upgrades are just adding to what I already knew was working. I mean, this machine's been in Australia in massive force for 20 odd years. They're just everywhere. So
how much faster is this one? Because we already know Candel is fast.
We can now do 2.5 hertz repetition and 3 hertz.
Oh, 3 hertz. That's
hertz, and I'm not very good at it. It's fast. She's a beast.
It's fast. You need to be coordinated at 3 hertz. It could be super fun though, right? Have a back in front of you and crank it right up. And if you've got your technique right, you build up to it. Obviously, we don't suggest you going flat stick at 3 hertz the whole, from the beginning. But if you're nice and you build up your technique, and I've seen some people get there. It's quite impressive.
We're not going to do a Brazilian on 3 hertz,
no.
But just to be clear, on the 26 mil spot, which is 2 mils bigger than our previous one, but that's huge. We can't go 3 hertz on the 26. We can go 2.5, because obviously when you're putting out that much more energy, the laser can't go fast enough to put out that energy. But that's a little that when we introduce you to the laser, you'll find out which spot sizes can go at 2.5. Which can go at 3.
Oh, wonderful. How fun. I've been loving speaking with you. There's so much advice for business owners, so much advice for someone also starting out. Final question, love to pick your brain. Can you offer any other advice to our listeners that are actually considering purchasing a light-based device? Because you're a clinic owner yourself, but you also come from that clinical education point of view. If someone's considering doing this for the first time in their business or upgrading, what advice would you give them?
Oh, honestly, hands down, from having had knowledge of devices in the industry in general, my biggest advice is to do your homework. Firstly, determine what do you want to do, and what is your scope of practice? Are you a plastic surgeon? Are you a dermatologist? Are you a hospital that wants a machine in theatre that removes the port wine stains off babies and put the birthmarks? Are you a beauty therapist? Are you a nurse? What do you want to do? Skin? Do you want to do hair removal? What do you want to do? You have to isolate that first. Then from there, you've got to find what device allows you to do all of that to the best of your ability. And then you've got to understand what you're buying. Not all devices are the same. You're not comparing apples with apples. Even from laser to laser. I mean, we obviously know the difference between IPLs and lasers, but you have to understand that not all lasers are created equal. So understanding that, finding out from the companies, what's the return on investment for these? We can provide that for you. Who are you competing with? Who is in the area? Who's in your community that's got lasers, and what sort of lasers have they got? So you've got to make your decision based on informed consent, and then with the satisfaction that whatever you chose, that it can deliver expectations that you have for it. I have done pre-sales chats to people, and I'm of the belief that we'd be disappointed if you didn't buy a Candela laser for sure. But if you can't afford it, or it's just not what you're looking for, you choose to go with a different device, then we wish you all the best. But just as long as you're making that decision, understanding the difference, right down to something like the energy that comes out of a laser, that makes a big difference to the results of things. So, we all as companies can put on things. You have to break that down and know that what you chose was with informed consent.
Yeah, brilliant. Honestly, brilliant advice. A lot of times we do rush into the excitement of buying a new laser, a new gadget, adding to our clinic, thinking and hoping for the best. But really that taking the time, slowing it down, really doing your homework and finding out what is it that I actually need, what is going to give me a return on investment rather than what's going to be fun to play with.
I mean, it's understanding what you're getting. And then when you've got through all the technical stuff, there's a whole bunch of other stuff we look at. Whether you're buying a car or you're buying anything, let's look at warranty. Do I get a warranty? How long is the warranty? That was important to me, knowing I've got that peace of mind for 3 years. And with warranty comes service, and it comes all the education. 3 years, you've got that backup.
Wow, 3 years is a long time. That's putting your money where your mouth is as a company, right?
Oh, exactly. And then the service technicians, are they on the ground in your area? What happens? Their devices, they things happen, things go wrong. We can't, it's a machine. But knowing that, within 24 hours, I can potentially have somebody there when that happens. It hasn't been an issue for me at all. And in the big picture, it isn't an issue. But knowing that they are here on the ground is also very important. And then the clinical support. Are they local? How much do you get? Are they there for subsequent support? Are they going to sell, dump and run? This background stuff all sort of adds to that whole package when you're investing in energy-based devices.
Oh, that's brutal. Sell, dump and run. Unfortunately, we don't want it to be like that, but we need to be wary of situations like that in our industry, because that does occur, doesn't it?
You're buying a microwave oven or a car or hose reel. It's the same thing,
We love our relationship with Candela. It is a very special relationship that we have, but also I think that the industry itself and all of the clinic owners and Candela users have and cherish that relationship as well. We just see it every year get better and better and flourish in our industry. And all of the trainers and all of the people within Candela, just such a wealth of knowledge, and you are fully loaded with so much knowledge, Bronwyn. I love picking your brain. I could talk with you all day. It really is always enlightening, speaking with yourself and speaking with the team in Candela, because I always come away with something, and I know our listeners have come away with a lot today. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's just so beautiful chatting with you, and I know we're going to have you back again in the future to chat.
Oh, that's very kind of you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Bronwyn, thank you again.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was great chatting, Steph.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Beauty by ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.